The autumn rain hammered against the windows of Rosie's diner like 1,000 desperate fingers seeking shelter. Inside, the warm glow of vintage Edison bulbs cast amber shadows across red leather booths, while the aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon wrapped around a dozen or so patrons like a comforting blanket. It was 7:47 p.m. on a Thursday evening when she walked in. Sarah Mitchell stood in the doorway, her thin jacket soaked through, water dripping from her brown hair onto the checkered floor. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, but from something deeper, something that lived in the hollow of her chest where hope used to reside. At 32, she looked older, the weight of the world etched in the lines around her eyes. Behind the counter, Rosa Delgado, the diner's owner for 23 years, felt her heart clench. She'd seen that look before, the look of a mother at the end of her rope, held together only by the love she had for her child. "Sit anywhere, honey," Rosa called out, her voice deliberately cheerful, deliberately normal. Sarah chose a booth in the corner, away from the other customers. She pulled out a wrinkled $5 bill and 3/4 from her pocket, counting them twice, then 3 times, as if the numbers might magically change. Her daughter Emma's face flashed through her mind, those bright green eyes, that gap-toothed smile. The way she'd hugged her this morning and whispered, "Don't worry, Mommy, I'm not that hungry." Emma was 7 years old, 7, and Sarah couldn't even give her a proper dinner. The job interview that morning had seemed promising until they told her the position had already been filled. The unemployment check was delayed again. The landlord had left another notice on their door, and the food pantry wouldn't open until Saturday. 2 days might as well have been 2 years. Rosa approached with a menu, but Sarah stopped her. Just water, please. And could I see the menu? I just need to see what you have." Rosa's experienced eyes took in everything. The worn shoes, the clean but faded clothes, the desperate pride trying to hold itself together. She'd been there once, decades ago, a single mother herself, choosing between feeding her children and feeding herself. "Water coming right up, sweetheart." Sarah studied the menu like it was a sacred text. The grilled cheese was $4.50. With her $5.75, she could get one with tax. Maybe they'd let her take the second half home for Emma. It wasn't much, but it was something. Something warm. Something that would make her daughter smile. Just as Sarah was about to order, the diner door swung open with such force that everyone turned to look. He filled the doorway like a storm given human form. Marcus Reaper Johnson stood 6'4". His leather vest studded with patches from motorcycle clubs across 3 states. Tribal tattoos crawled up his arms like ancient stories written in ink. His beard was thick and dark, his eyes hidden behind glasses, misted with rain. The skull ring on his finger caught the light as he shook water from his jacket. The diner fell silent, except for the soft jazz playing from the jukebox. Marcus had ridden through the storm for 3 hours, heading home from a charity ride that had raised money for veterans. His club, the Iron Brotherhood, looked rough on the outside, all leather and chrome and thunder, but they served their country, and now they served their communities. Still, people saw the exterior and made their judgments. He strode to the counter, his boots heavy on the floor, and Rosa appeared immediately. Despite his appearance, she smiled. Marcus had been coming here for 5 years, every Thursday, and she knew what most people did that this intimidating man left $100 tips for single mothers. That he'd once stopped traffic to help a turtle cross the road, that he volunteered at the children's hospital dressed as Santa every Christmas. The usual Marcus. Double bacon cheeseburger, extra fries, and a chocolate shake. Rosa, riding in that rain, worked up an appetite that could eat a horse. His voice was deep, rumbling like distant thunder. As he waited, Marcus glanced around the diner, a habit from his military days. That's when he noticed her, the woman in the corner booth, staring at the menu with an intensity that spoke of something more than hunger. He recognized that look. He'd worn it himself once, years ago, before he'd gotten his life together. Sarah felt eyes on her and looked up, meeting the biker's gaze for just a second before quickly looking away. Her heart raced. She wasn't afraid exactly, just overwhelmed. The world felt too big, too loud, too much. Rosa brought Sarah's water, and Sarah finally whispered her order. "One grilled cheese sandwich, please," and she hesitated, her voice dropping even lower. Barely audible, "Could I get a box with it? To take the other half home." Rosa's eyes glistened, but she kept her professional smile. "Of course, honey, coming right up." But Sarah stopped her, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "Actually, wait. I'm sorry. This might sound strange, but when you bring the sandwich, could you not eat any of it? I mean, could you make sure it's untouched? It's not for me." "Well, I'll eat a little, but it's really for my daughter. She's 7, and she hasn't eaten since breakfast, and I want her to have something warm tonight. Something whole, not just my leftovers. Does that make sense?" Her voice cracked on the last word, and a single tear escaped down her cheek. "And if there's any way, I know this is silly, but if maybe there were any French fries that someone didn't want, or maybe a side that someone ordered extra by accident. Emma loves French fries. I could pay for them on Saturday when say no more." Rosa squeezed her hand. "I understand completely." From his seat at the counter, Marcus had heard every word. The sound of a mother's love wrapped in desperation was something that transcended noise levels, that cut through distractions. He'd been that kid once, the one whose mother had skipped meals so he could eat. He remembered the night she'd told him the hamburger was too big for her, that she'd eaten at work, all while her stomach growled and her hands shook. Sarah didn't see him stand, didn't see him approach Rosa, didn't hear the whispered conversation at the counter. 10 minutes later, Rosa appeared at Sarah's booth, carrying not one plate, but 3. The first held a perfect grilled cheese sandwich, golden brown and oozing with melted cheddar. The second was piled high with crispy French fries. The third held a slice of chocolate cake that looked like it belonged in a magazine. "Wait," Sarah said, confusion flooding her face. I can't afford." Rosa smiled, her eyes twinkling. "That gentleman at the counter wanted you to have this. He said something about paying forward kindness that was shown to him once." Sarah turned to look at the counter. But the big biker was staring intently at his phone, seemingly unaware of the conversation. "I can't accept this," Sarah whispered, tears now flowing freely. "I don't take charity. I just need." Marcus turned then, his voice gentle despite its depth. "Ma'am, it's not charity. It's humanity. My mama once sat in a diner just like this one, counting pennies, trying to figure out how to feed me and my sister. A stranger bought her a meal. She never forgot it. She told me, Marcus's kindness isn't a transaction. It's a legacy. When someone helps you, you don't pay them back, you pay it forward." He stood and walked over to her booth, and Sarah realized that despite his intimidating appearance, his eyes were kind. Laugh lines creased their corners. "Your daughter, Emma, right? She's got a mama who loves her so much she's willing to swallow her pride, to ask for help, to make sure her baby is fed. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing in the world." He reached into his vest and pulled out a card. "This is the number for my friend Rachel. She runs a staffing agency. They're always looking for good people. You call her tomorrow. Tell her Reaper sent you. No promises, but Rachel's good people." Sarah couldn't speak. The words were trapped behind the lump in her throat. Marcus continued, "And one more thing." He pulled out his wallet and placed 5 $20 bills on the table. "This isn't charity either. This is from the Iron Brotherhood's Community Fund. We help folks who need a hand up, not a hand out. You use this to get through the next few days. When you're back on your feet and you will be you, do the same for someone else. Deal?" Sarah stared at the money like it was a mirage that might disappear. $100. That was groceries. That was the electric bill. That was hope. I don't know what to say, she finally managed. Say you'll eat that meal, Marcus replied with a gentle smile. And say you'll give your little girl a hug from all of us tonight. The entire diner had been watching in silence. Now, as if a spell had been broken, others began to move. An elderly woman from booth 4 approached with a $20 bill. For Emma's birthday fund, she said simply. A young couple added a bag of their daughter's gently used clothes. She just outgrew these. Size 7, if that helps. A businessman in a suit placed a grocery store gift card on the table. Found this in my wallet? $50. Haven't used it? Within 5 minutes, Sarah's table looked like Christmas morning. Her shoulders shook as she sobbed not from despair anymore, but from overwhelming gratitude, from the sudden, beautiful realization that she wasn't alone, that the world still held goodness. Rosa brought boxes for everything, plus several full meals packaged to go. For the next few days, she said, waving away protests. When Sarah finally left the diner 40 minutes later, the rain had stopped. The clouds had parted to reveal a sky full of stars. She held her packages like they contained precious gems, because, in a way, they did. They contained hope, kindness, and the reminder that humanity's capacity for compassion was infinite. Marcus watched her go from his spot at the counter, his own meal barely touched. "You're a good man, Reaper," Rosa said, refilling his coffee. "Nah," Marcus replied, his voice rough with emotion. "Just remember being hungry. Just remember what it felt like to be saved by a stranger's kindness. My mama taught me that we're all connected, Rosa, every single one of us. When we lift each other up, we all rise." Later that night, Sarah sat with Emma in their small apartment, watching her daughter's eyes light up at the feast before her. "Mommy, where did all this come from?" "From angels, baby," Sarah whispered, stroking her daughter's hair. "Angels who wear leather jackets and ride motorcycles. Angels who work in diners and sit in booths. Angels who remind us that we're never really alone." Emma took a bite of her French fries and smiled that gap-toothed smile. "Are we going to be okay, Mommy?" Sarah thought about the job lead, the money, the food. The kindness that had poured into their lives from strangers who became heroes in the span of a heartbeat. "Yeah, baby," she said, meaning it for the first time in months. "We're going to be okay." And in that moment, in that small apartment with its peeling paint and drafty windows, illuminated by the glow of a single lamp and the warmth of a mother's love, they were more than okay. They were blessed. Because sometimes, when the world gets too dark and the burden too heavy, the universe sends us exactly what we need. A reminder that kindness exists, that strangers are just friends we haven't met yet, and that the smallest act of compassion can change everything. Marcus rode home through the cool night air, the stars above him brighter than they'd been in years. His phone buzzed with a text from Rosa. She called Rachel. "Interview Monday, you did good, Reaper." He smiled beneath his helmet. His mama would be proud. The world could be cruel, but it could also be beautiful. And every day, we got to choose which one to feed.